Chapter 10 to Psychosocial Development in Middle Childhood. Let's start out with our objectives. So, by the end of this lecture, I want you to be able to discuss emotional and personality development in school age children, describe changes in family relationships, identify changes in pair relationships, and describe the development and treatment of emotional disorders that can develop in school age children. The developing self. While young children have difficulty with abstract concepts and integrating the self, children of ages 7 and 8 form representational systems. These are broad, inclusive self concepts that integrate aspects of the self. Industry versus inferiority. According to Erickson, a major influence of self-esteem is children's view of their capacity for productive work. The fourth stage of psychosocial development is industry versus inferiority. If children are unable to obtain praise, they develop feelings of low self-worth and inferiority. Conversely, learning to work hard and achieving goals lead to a view of the self as being able to master skills and complete tasks. Emotional development. Older children are more aware of their own and other people's feelings. They can better regulate or control their emotions and can respond to the emotional distress of others. Children become more empathetic and inclined to pro-social behavior in middle childhood. Children who are good at self-regulation tend to be socially competent and do well in school. Family atmosphere. In middle childhood, there is a shift in power between parents and children who grow and become more autonomous. This transitional stage is co-regulation, a stage that includes parental oversight as well as the child's moment-to-moment self-regulation. The ways in which parents socialize their children reflect important cultural values. Children exposed to family conflict show a variety of responses. Internalizing behaviors include anxiety, fearfulness, and depression, more anger turned inward. Externalizing behaviors include aggression, fighting, disobedience, and hostility, more of anger turned outward. Maternal employment. By 2021, 75.5% of U.S. mothers worked either full or part-time. In general, the more satisfied the mother is with her employment status, the more effective she is likely to be as a parent. When both parents work outside the home, child care arrangements are common. Children enrolled in high-quality programs show positive changes in academic outcomes, pair relationships, and self-confidence. COVID-19 increased the number of American children living in poverty. Effective parenting can buffer children from the effects of poverty. Family structure. Children tend to do better in families with two continuously married parents than other arrangements. Children who experience family transitions, such as divorce and remarriage, are more likely to have behavior problems than children in stable families. A father's frequent and positive involvement is directly related to a child's adjustment. In 2019, about 21.4% of children lived in homes without a biological father. Overall, divorce has become more common across the globe. Divorce is stressful for children. The stress of the marital conflict, then parental separation with departure of one parent, and potential loss of friends if a move is necessary can be a lot for a child to have to cope with. Divorce causes stress for all of the family members involved, and children's adjustment depends on the level of parental conflict before the divorce, the child's age and maturity, the child's gender and temperament, and the child's psychosocial development before the divorce. Although children whose parents divorce are at slightly higher risk for negative outcomes, most do eventually show good adjustment. Parental divorce may affect later relationships as children enter adulthood. Relative to children of intact marriages, children of divorce have a higher separation and divorce rate as adults, lower incomes and poorer well-being, and have more parent and child conflict themselves. However, some children of divorce learn from the negative example and form highly intimate relationships. About 40% of children in the United States live with cohabitating parents. So it's parents who are living together but are not legally married. These parents traditionally have less income and education, report poorer relationships, and have more mental health problems. Research shows worse emotional, behavioral, and academic outcomes for children living with cohabiting biological parents, but the difference is primarily the result of economic resources and family stability. Step families. 15% of U.S. children live in blended families. Adjusting to a new step-parent can be stressful. When there is a good relationship with the biological parent, typically the mother, prior to the introduction of a step-parent, children show more positive relationships with the step-parent and better adjustment. Same-sex marriage. There is no consistent difference between homosexual and heterosexual parents in emotional health or parenting skills. Children of gay and lesbian parents are no more likely to have psychological problems or to be confused about their gender than are children of heterosexual parents. Adoptive families. In 2020, approximately 95,000 children in the United States were adopted. This number reflects a decline from previous years due to COVID-19. While adopted children do tend to have more psychological and academic difficulties than non-adopted children, these differences are small, and most adopted children fall within the normal range of development. Sibling relationships. Having a warm and supportive sibling relationship is associated with better adjustment, social competence, pro-social behavior, and empathy. However, high sibling conflict is associated with internalizing and externalizing problems as well as risky behavior. When a parent-child relationship is warm, siblings tend to have positive relationships too. When the parent-child relationship is conflictual, sibling conflict is more likely. Positive aspects of peer influence include developing social skills, leadership and communication, and having a sense of belonging and a sense of identity. Negative aspects of peer influences include reinforcing prejudice, that is, unfavorable attitudes regarding outside groups, and it can also foster antisocial tendencies through negative conformity. Microaggressions are derogatory comments and/or gestures made against those with a historically marginalized identity. Multiracial microaggressions are when multiracial people may experience microaggressions against their mixed racial identities by those who identify with one racial group. Suffering persistent microaggressions can lead to mental health problems and effects on well-being. Selman's stages of friendship are 5 stages that coincide with developmental milestones at that time. The first momentary stage The description is like she lives on my street. One-way assistance stage is unilateral, such as he's my friend because he always says yes when I want to borrow his toys. The third stage is two-way fair weather cooperation. There's reciprocity. A friend is someone who plays with you when you don't have anyone else to play with. The fourth stage is intimate. It's mutual and possessive. It takes a long time to make a close friend, so you feel bad if your friend is trying to make other friends too. And the last stage is the interdependent stage. A good friendship is a risk you have to take, and you have to support and trust and give, but you have to be able to let go too. Popularity. Children can easily say whom they like to play with and whom they like most. This is a positive nomination. Conversely, a negative nomination involves describing when children they don't like to play with and whom they like the least. Children who are sociometrically average do not receive an unusual number of either positive or negative nominations. Aggression declines and changes in the early school years. Instrumental aggression is aimed at achieving a goal and is much less common. However, hostile aggression intended to hurt another person increases. Physically aggressive children sometimes can attain a higher social status as they get older. What makes children act aggressively? Instrumental aggressors act deliberately to get what they want. They do not act out of anger. Other children are more likely to engage in reactive aggression. Children who assume the worst of others in situations may have a hostile attribution bias, a tendency to perceive others as trying to hurt them and to strike out in retaliation or self-defense. Aggression becomes bullying when it is deliberately, persistently directed against a particular target, a victim. Both bullies and victims tend to be deficient in social problem-solving skills. Bullies also tend to have academic problems. Bullies may reflect a genetic tendency toward aggressiveness combined with environmental influences such as coercive parents and antisocial friends. Emotional bullying is especially harmful to both bullies and victims. Bullying, a worldwide problem. In the United States, 28% of students in grades 6 to 12 have been bullied. Prevalence rates differ globally, but bullying occurs regardless of whether a country is wealthy or poor. Bullying in unsafe environments create a climate of fear and insecurity that can lead to lower life satisfaction in adulthood. Bullies are at increased risk of delinquency, crime, or alcohol abuse. They are more likely to be diagnosed with anxiety or depression. Victims of bullies tend to develop behavior problems. Generally, programs are more effective at reducing physical and relational bullying and less effective with verbal forms of bullying. The influence of media violence on aggression. Children spend more time on entertainment media than any other activity except school and sleeping. On average, children ages 6 to 12 spend about 4 to 6 hours a day watching or using screens. Recent experimental evidence casts doubt on the existence of a direct causal relationship between the electronically mediated aggression in video games and aggression in the real world. Based on research, the violence within the context of the video game did not translate, at least in the short term, into real-world behavior. Disruptive conduct disorders. Temper tantrums and defiance are common among 4 and 5-year-olds. When such a pattern persists to age 8, children, often boys, may be diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder. Some children with oppositional defiant disorder may later be diagnosed with conduct disorder, which is a repetitive, persistent pattern of aggressive, antisocial behavior that is strongly predictive of criminal behavior in adulthood. Anxiety disorders. Children may experience a variety of anxiety disorders, including separation anxiety disorder, social phobia, generalized anxiety disorder, and obsessive compulsive disorder. Childhood depression is a mood disorder characterized by an inability to have fun or concentrate, fatigue, extreme activity, or apathy, crying, sleep problems, prolonged sense of friendlessness, feelings of worthlessness, weight change and physical complaints, and thoughts of death and suicide. Psychological treatments for emotional disorders include individual psychotherapy, family therapy, behavior therapy, art therapy, play therapy, and drug therapy. Resilient children are those who weather adverse circumstances, function well despite challenges or threats, and bounce back from traumatic events. Protective factors that help children overcome stress and contribute to resilience are children's temperament or personality, compensating experiences, and reduced risk factors.